The human man was walking along a dusty alien road. He had come from far away, looking for trade and rest. The twin suns burned above, and the market streets were quiet. Suddenly he felt a small hand grab his fingers. He looked down and saw a little alien girl staring at him with wide, wet eyes. Her face was streaked with tears. Her lips trembled, but she did not let go of his hand. The human bent down and asked softly, "What is it, child?" The girl swallowed hard, her voice shaking. "Please, human, make my mom happy again. Be her husband," she whispered. The human froze. He thought he had heard wrong, but her eyes, large, glowing, full of sorrow, did not blink. He felt his chest tighten. "What do you mean?" he asked. The girl's tears fell faster. "She cries every night. She is alone. She needs someone. She needs you." The man did not know what to say. He was a stranger, a traveler. Why would this alien child beg such a thing from him? But the way she clung to his hand, desperate, it was as if her little heart carried the weight of a whole world. He knelt down, brushing away her tears gently. "Where is your mother?" he asked. The girl tugged his hand and pulled him toward a small path. Her steps were quick, as if afraid he would run away. The human followed silently. Every turn of the road was quiet. The houses they passed were old and broken, doors shut tight, windows dark. It felt like the whole place had turned its back on the child. Finally, they stopped before a small hut at the edge of the village. The walls were cracked, the roof half broken. The girl pushed the door open and led him inside. There, sitting by a dying fire, was a woman, her skin marked by her people's strange colors, her eyes tired, her shoulders bent. She looked up when they entered. Surprise flashed in her gaze when she saw the human. "Mother?" the little girl said quickly. "I brought it. He will help us." The woman frowned, shaking her head. "What are you saying?" Her voice was sharp but weak. The girl ran to her side and held her tightly. "He will make you happy again. He will stay with us. He will be your husband." The woman's face turned pale. Her lips pressed together. She looked at the human with anger and shame. "I don't know what lies she told you," she said coldly. "We don't need your pity. Leave us." The girl's small arms clung tighter. "Please, mother, please," she begged. "She is not lying," the human said quietly. "I did not come here for this. But your daughter, she asked me with her whole heart." The woman's eyes burned with pain. She turned away, hiding her tears. The firelight flickered on her face. It showed scars, deep and old, scars not only on her skin, but in her soul. The human felt something heavy in his chest. This was not just a family in need. This was a heart broken long ago, and the child was trying to heal it, even if it meant pulling a stranger into their lives. The silence grew heavy. Only the crackle of the weak fire filled the air. The girl pressed her face against her mother's lap, sobbing softly. The human stood still, unsure, but inside him something whispered. This was no ordinary meeting. This was the beginning of a choice that could change all three lives forever. The human stayed silent for a long moment. The alien woman's cold words still hung in the air. "Leave us," she had said, but her trembling hands told a different story. She wanted him gone, but her heart wanted help. He could feel it. The little girl would not let go of her mother's arm. "Please, Mama, listen," she cried. Her small voice cracked like glass. "She is tired," the human thought, "tired of carrying pain for too long." He took a slow step forward. The woman's eyes narrowed, full of warning, but she did not push him out. Instead, she lowered her head as if ashamed to even meet his gaze. The fire in the corner gave little warmth. The room was nearly empty. A broken chair, a few old pots, nothing else. The human saw how poor they were, not only in things, but in hope. Finally, he spoke softly. "I don't mean to intrude, but your daughter asked me with tears. I could not ignore her. She loves you deeply." The woman's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her eyes glistened. For a second, he thought she would cry, but she turned her face away quickly. "I don't need anyone's pity," she whispered. Her voice was bitter, but weak. The child looked up at her mother. Her tiny hands clutched her tightly. "Mom, it's not pity. You are alone every night. You cry when you think I sleep. Why can't he stay? Why can't we be like other families?" The woman flinched. Her chest rose and fell. Every word from her daughter cut deep. Her pride told her to stay strong, but her broken heart wanted to fall apart. The human felt the tension in the room. He knew this was not about him. This was about years of rejection. He saw the scars on her arms, some from work, some from battles maybe. He wondered, what had this woman endured? At last the woman looked at him, her voice sharp like a blade. "Do you know what they call me here? They call me cursed. They say I bring misfortune. No. Man will stand with me. Even my own people turned their backs." The human listened quietly. The little girl sobbed louder. "Not true, Mama, not true," she shouted. But the woman only stroked her hair with shaking fingers. Her face was hard, but her tears betrayed her strength. "Do you see now, traveler?" she said. "This is why you must go. If you stay, they will hate you too. They will cast stones. You will suffer like us." The human's jaw tightened. He could feel anger rising inside him, not at her, but at the cruelty she faced. How could anyone call a woman like this cursed? How could they let a child grow up in such pain? He stepped closer, his voice firm. "Your people may call you cursed, but I see something else. I see a mother who fights to keep her child alive. I see someone stronger than all of them." The woman froze. Her eyes widened slightly. She was not used to hearing words like these, not for years. The firelight flickered across her face. For a moment, the hardness in her expression cracked. The little girl hugged her mother tighter. "See, Mama? He understands. He sees you like I do." Her voice was hopeful now, her tears mixed with a small smile. The woman pressed her lips together, her eyes turned away again, but this time she was not pushing them out. This time she was hiding her trembling heart. The human knew he could not walk away now. He had seen too much, the scars, the tears, the strength hidden beneath. This was not just a broken woman, this was someone worth fighting for. The night grew darker. Outside, the village lights dimmed. Inside, the three of them sat quietly. The fire burned low, and though no one said it aloud, something had changed. A seed of trust had been planted. Small, fragile, but alive. The morning came slowly. The human stepped outside the broken hut. The air was cool, but the village felt colder. He looked around and saw faces peeking from doors. Whispers spread like smoke. "Why is a human at her house?" they muttered. The little girl held his hand tightly. Her eyes were shining with a mix of fear and hope. She wanted him to see the truth of her world. So she pulled him down the narrow path into the village. As they walked, the human saw how strange the place was. Beautiful stone houses stood in the center, but around the edges, homes like the woman's were broken and forgotten. It was clear, some were respected, others abandoned. The girl whispered, "They hate my mom. They say she broke a rule. They call her cursed." Her voice trembled as she explained, "They don't talk to us. They don't share food. Sometimes they throw stones when no one is watching." The human clenched his fists. The thought of this child living in such cruelty burned his chest. He looked down at her and said softly, "No child should live like this." They reached the heart of the village. A fountain stood in the middle. Villagers gathered there, trading and talking. But when the human and the little girl arrived, silence fell. All eyes turned, sharp and full of judgment. One old woman hissed loudly, "Look, the cursed child brings a stranger. She wants to trap him like her mother trapped her mate." Laughter followed, cruel and bitter. The girl lowered her head, tears filling her eyes, but the human placed his hand on her shoulder. "Stand tall," he whispered. "You did nothing wrong." The crowd began to circle them slowly. Some pointed fingers, others spat on the ground. The human could see the hatred clear as day. At last, a tall elder stepped forward, his voice deep and sharp. "Human, listen well. Do not involve yourself with that woman. She carries shame. She carries mispaism. Ortun, if you stay with her, her curse will fall on you too." The human met the elder's eyes calmly. "I don't believe in curses," he replied. "I believe in what I see, and what I see is a mother and a child abandoned by their own." Gasps rose from the crowd. Whispers turned to angry shouts. "Outsider dares to speak against us," someone cried. Another voice spat. "He will ruin us all if he stays." The little girl clung to his arm, her small body trembling, but the human stood firm. His heart burned with anger. He wanted to shout at them, but he knew words would not change their hatred. He led the girl back to her hut. The villagers' eyes followed like knives on his back. When they reached the edge of the broken house, the girl finally looked up, her cheeks wet with tears. "They will never accept us," she whispered. "They don't see my mom's kindness. They only see what they want." The human knelt before her. He brushed away her tears with rough but gentle hands. "They don't decide who you are," he said firmly. "Your mother is strong, you are strong, and if they cannot see it, then I will." The girl's eyes widened with hope. She hugged him tightly, her small voice muffled against his chest. "Please, don't leave us too." The human closed his eyes for a moment. He could feel the weight of her words sink deep inside him. This was no longer about pity, it was about justice. It was about standing against cruelty. He opened his eyes and looked at the broken hut once more. Inside, the mother waited, hiding her pain behind cold walls. He knew then, if he stayed, He would be facing more than one woman's sorrow. He would be facing a whole village's hate. And yet, something inside him whispered. He could not walk away. That night, the village elders gathered. They had seen the human defend the alien mother and her child. They did not like it. Whispers spread through the dark streets. He must be warned, they said. He must be driven away before he poisons our people. The next morning, 3 men came to the broken hut, their faces hard, their steps heavy. The little girl saw them first and ran behind the human. Fear shone in her eyes. They will hurt us, she whispered. The men stopped at the doorway. Their leader, tall and broad, spoke with a sharp voice. Human, you are a stranger here. We welcomed your kind for trade, not for trouble. Leave the cursed woman and her brat. Go before the curse touches you too. The human stood firm. I do not believe in curses, he said. I believe in truth, and the truth is, she and her child have been abandoned for no reason. The man's eyes narrowed, his lips curled into a bitter smile. You defend her? Then prove yourself. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. If you wish to claim the cursed woman as your own, if you wish to call her wife, you must pass the trial of our people. The alien mother, sitting quietly by the fire, suddenly looked up. Her face turned pale. No, do not listen to them, she cried. Her voice shook with fear, but the elder only laughed. What are you afraid of? If this human is strong, let him show it. If he is weak, let him fall and leave you forever. The human looked at the woman. Her eyes were wide with panic. She shook her head, silently begging him to refuse. But then he looked down at the little girl. Her hands clutched his tightly. Her lips trembled, but in her eyes, he saw something else. Hope. He turned back to the men. What is this trial? He asked. The elder smiled coldly. You must enter the forest at night, hunt the shadow beast, and return with its fang. Only then can you claim her. Only then will Wachung accept you. Gasps filled the air. Even the little girl shook with terror. No, not the shadow beast, she whispered. They send him to die, the mother said bitterly. They want his blood, not his honor. The human's jaw tightened. He had faced danger before. He was no stranger to risk, but this was different. This was a test not for glory, but for survival. The whole village wanted him gone. They would cheer if he died. He took a slow breath, then nodded. I will face your trial, he said. His voice was steady, not for the elders, not for their acceptance, but for the woman and child who had no one else. The alien mother stood quickly, her eyes burning with anger and fear. You fool, she shouted. They only want your death. Do not throw your life away for us. Her voice cracked, tears rolled down her cheeks, but the human only looked at her calmly. I am not doing this for them, he said. I am doing this for you and for her. The little girl's tears fell silently, but she held his hand tighter. Please come back, she whispered. Her voice was small, almost broken. The human knelt and brushed her hair. I promise, he said softly. I will not leave you, not like the others. The elders laughed as they walked away. They thought the human had signed his death, but the mother and daughter saw something else. In his eyes burned a fire they had never seen before. That night, as the sun sank and the forest loomed dark, the humans stood at the edge. The villagers gathered to watch. Some mocked, others whispered. The alien mother clutched her daughter tightly. Her lips moved in silent prayer. The human stepped into the shadows without fear. The trial had begun. The forest was silent. The human walked carefully. Every branch cracked like thunder under his boots. The night air was thick, filled with the smell of damp earth. He knew eyes were watching him, not only from the trees, but from the shadows. Back in the village, the alien mother sat by the fire. Her daughter clung to her side. Tears rolled down the child's cheeks. Will he come back, Mama? She whispered. The woman closed her eyes, her heart heavy. I don't know, she admitted, but deep inside she wished harder than ever before. Memories began to rise in her mind, memories she had tried to bury. She saw herself younger, full of laughter and hope. She had once been admired, strong and brave, but one night, everything changed. Her people had strict traditions. When she refused a forced union with a cruel man, the village turned against her. They said she insulted their law. They said she brought shame. And when her mate later vanished during a hunt, they blamed her for it. They called her cursed. From that day, she was never the same. Her child was the only light left in her life. Every smile, every hug kept her alive. But even her daughter saw her pain at night. No matter how hard she tried to hide it, her tears always found their way out. Now a stranger, a human, walked into danger for her. Why, she wondered. Why would a man risk his life for someone the whole world had abandoned? She hugged her daughter tighter. Her heart whispered an answer she was afraid to speak. Because maybe, just maybe, he saw her differently. Deep inside the forest, the human paused. The silence had changed. No birds, no insects, only the sound of his breath. He gripped his blade tightly. Something moved in the dark. Two glowing eyes appeared between the trees. The shadow beast stepped forward, its body large, covered in thick scales, its teeth long and dripping with venom, the villager. S had spoken of it like a nightmare, but now it stood in front of him, real and deadly. The beast roared, shaking the ground. The human did not flinch. He raised his weapon and stood firm. "This isn't for me," he whispered. "This is for them." The fight began. The beast lunged forward, claws slicing through the air. The human dodged, rolling to the side. His blade cut across its leg. The beast howled in fury. Its tail swung like a whip, striking a tree and shattering it. The human's chest heaved, sweat dripping down his face. He knew one mistake could kill him. But the thought of the little girl's tear-streaked face pushed him on. The thought of the mother's hidden sorrow fueled his strength. Back at the hut, the mother could not sit still. Her heart pounded with fear. She remembered the last man she loved. He too had gone to the forest, but he never returned. Would the same fate take this human away? Her daughter whispered, "He promised he will come back, Mama. He promised." The woman's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to believe it, but hope was dangerous. Hope had betrayed her before. In the forest, the human struck again. His blade sank deep into the beast's shoulder. The creature roared in pain, thrashing wildly, but he held on, refusing to let go. With one final strike, he drove his blade into its chest. The beast fell with a ground-shaking crash. Its glowing eyes dimmed. The forest was silent once more. The human stood over it, panting. His body ached, but he was alive. Slowly, he reached down and pulled a fang from its jaws. The proof of his trial. He looked up at the stars through the trees and whispered softly, "I'm coming back. Wait for me." Back in the hut, the mother's eyes stared at the fire, her hands trembling. She whispered to herself, "Don't die. Not like the others. Please come back." The human returned at dawn. His steps were slow but steady. In his hand, he carried the long fang of the shadow beast. Blood stained his clothes. His arm was cut, but his eyes were calm, alive. The villagers who had gathered gasped in shock. "He killed it. The beast is dead," someone cried. Murmurs spread like fire. None of them had believed he would survive. They had sent him to die. But now he stood among them, stronger than before. The little girl pushed through the crowd, her small feet running as fast as they could. "Father," she cried. Her voice was loud, full of joy. She threw her arms around him. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but this time they were tears of relief. The human knelt and hugged her tightly. "I told you I'd come back," he whispered. The girl pressed her face against his chest. "I knew you would. I never stopped believing," she said softly. Her words filled his tired heart with strength. The alien mother stood at the edge of the crowd. Her hands trembled as she saw him alive. Her lips parted, but no words came out. The villagers turned to her. Some glared with anger, others with unease. They could not understand why a human risked his life for her. The elder stepped forward, his eyes narrowed. "You passed the trial, human, but know this. Our acceptance does not come so easily. Stay with her, and you will share her fate." His words dripped with warning, but the human did not flinch. He only looked at the woman and her child. "They are not a curse," he said firmly. "They are my choice." The crowd murmured again. Some shook their heads. Others whispered with suspicion, but no one dared challenge the man who had killed the beast. Later, back at the broken hut, the little girl would not leave his side. She followed him everywhere, smiling through her tears. "Now you can stay forever," she whispered. "You are our family now." Her eyes shone with a hope too big for her small body. The human smiled softly. But when he looked at the mother, her eyes told a different story. She was not smiling. Her gaze was full of confusion and fear. She had seen men leave before. She had seen promises break like glass. That night, when the little girl finally fell asleep, the human sat quietly by the fire. The alien mother sat across from him, her face half lit by the flames. "Why?" she asked suddenly, her voice sharp, almost angry. "Why risk your life for us? You could have walked away. You could have left us like everyone else." The human looked into the fire. "I don't know," he admitted softly. "But when your daughter begged me, I saw something in her eyes, something I could not ignore. And when I looked at you, I saw someone who deserved better than what this world gave you." The woman's lips trembled. She wanted to argue. She wanted to push him away again, but her heart shook at his words. She lowered her gaze, hiding her tears. "You don't understand. If you stay, you will carry our pain too. It will destroy you." The human shook his head slowly. "I've faced monsters before," he said, "but loneliness is the worst monster of all. No one should fight it alone. The silence stretched between them. The fire crackled. The woman turned her face away. But inside, something broke. A wall she had built for years began to crack. From the corner, the little girl stirred in her sleep. Her small voice whispered like a dream. "Don't leave us. Please." Her words were soft, but they pierced the woman's heart, and for the first time in many years, the mother allowed herself to hope, even if it scared her, even if it felt impossible. The next day, the human walked through the village. The shadow beast's fang hung from his belt, proof of his victory. The villagers moved aside as he passed. Some lowered their heads, others whispered, but not a single one smiled. His survival had shaken them, yet their hatred for the alien woman had not faded. The elders gathered once more in the center. The human stood before them calmly. The little girl clung to his arm, her wide eyes filled with pride. To her, he was already her father. But the council of old men did not see it that way. The eldest elder raised his staff and spoke loudly. "You killed the beast, human. That was strength. But strength alone does not make you worthy. If you truly wish to stand with the cursed woman, if you truly wish to claim her as your wife, then face us in the trial of judgment." The villagers gasped. The alien mother's eyes widened in horror. She rushed forward, standing between the human and the elders. "No, enough. You have tested him once. Do you want his blood to satisfy your pride?" Her voice was sharp, but the elders only sneered. "If he refuses, he admits his weakness, and then he must leave. Do you wish him gone?" The woman froze, her heart twisting. She wanted to protect him, but she also feared losing him. Her silence gave the elders their answer. The human stepped forward. "I accept," he said firmly. The little girl gasped. "Father, no," she cried. Tears welled up in her eyes. "They are trying to break you. Don't let them take you away from us." The human knelt down. He placed his rough hand gently on her cheek. "Listen to me," he said softly. "They cannot take me away, not as long as I choose to stay, and I choose you. I choose your mother. I will not leave, no matter what." The girl hugged him tightly, her small voice muffled against his chest. "Promise me, you'll come back," the human whispered. "I promise." That evening, the trial began. The whole village gathered around the open ground. The fire pits burned bright. Torches lit the circle. The human stepped inside. Across from him stood 3 warriors of the village. Tall, scarred, armed with heavy spears. The crowd cheered for their own, but jeered at the human. "Outsider," they shouted. "Curse lover," others cried. The alien mother stood at the edge, her fists clenched, her heart pounded with fear. The little girl pressed against her side, whispering, "He will win, Mama. He has to." The trial began with the strike of a drum. The first warrior charged, spear thrusting forward. The human moved quickly, dodging aside. His blade flashed, cutting the spear's shaft in half. The crowd gasped. The warrior stumbled, defeated. The second came next, swinging with brutal strength. Their weapons clashed. Sparks flew in the night air. The human pushed forward, using speed instead of power. He struck the warrior down with one swift blow. The villagers shouted in anger and disbelief, but the third warrior was different. He was older, stronger, his eyes burned with hatred. "You will not take her," he snarled. "You will not shame us." Their fight was fierce. Each strike echoed through the night. The human's arms ached, his chest burned, but he refused to fall. The little girl screamed, "Don't give up." Her voice cut through the noise. The human's strength returned. With one last effort, he disarmed the warrior. His blade pressed against the man's throat. Silence fell. The elder raised his staff again. "The trial is complete," he announced. "The human has proven himself." Gasps rose from the crowd. The alien mother's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in years, she felt the chains around her heart loosen. Her daughter smiled through her tears. "He did it, Mama. He really did it." The village grew quiet after the trial. The human had won, yet no one celebrated. The people returned to their homes, whispering in the dark. Some feared him now, others hated him even more, but none dared to challenge him again. At the edge of the village, the little hut glowed faintly. Inside, the alien mother sat by the fire. Her daughter slept peacefully for the first time in many nights. The woman's eyes were on the flames, her heart heavy with thoughts she could no longer ignore. The door creaked. The human stepped in slowly, his body tired, his face bruised. But his eyes were steady. When she looked at him, her chest tightened. She wanted to speak, but her pride kept her silent. He sat across from her. The fire crackled between them. Neither spoke for a long while. The silence was filled only with the girl's gentle breathing. Finally, the human said softly, "You don't have to thank me. I didn't fight them for honor. I fought because I couldn't let you carry this pain alone." The woman's lips trembled. Her heart wanted to believe, but fear pressed against her like a chain. "You don't know what it means," she whispered. "Every man who stood with me vanished. Every friend I had turned their back. I lost everything. Why should I believe you will stay?" The human leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. "Because I am not them. Because your daughter's tears told me the truth. And because when I look at you, I don't see a curse. I see someone who deserves to be loved." Her eyes widened. No one had spoken such words to her in years. The walls she had built began to crack again. She turned her face away, hiding her tears, but her voice broke as she whispered, "You don't know how much I wanted to hear that." The firelight flickered, painting her face with warmth. The human reached across slowly. He did not force her. He simply offered his hand, open and steady. For a moment, she hesitated. Her chest rose and fell as her heart battled her fear. Then, with trembling fingers, she placed her hand in his. The touch was small, fragile, but it carried the weight of years of loneliness. The human closed his hand gently around hers. For the first time, she did not pull away. From her sleeping mat, the little girl stirred. Her eyes opened just a little. She saw her mother's hand in the human's. A small smile appeared on her tired face, and she closed her eyes again, whispering in her dreams, "Now Mama won't cry anymore." The mother looked down at her daughter. Her heart melted. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they were soft, not bitter. She turned back to the human, her voice low, breaking. "I am afraid, but when you hold my hand, I feel safe. And I have not felt safe for a very long time." The human squeezed her hand gently. "You don't have to be afraid anymore," he said. "As long as I breathe, I will stand beside you both." The night stretched on. The stars shone bright above the broken roof, and inside that small hut, something changed forever. The woman who once carried only sorrow now carried a spark of hope. The human who came as a stranger now sat as a protector. And the child who begged for happiness finally saw her wish coming true. It was not a promise sealed with words. It was a promise sealed in silence, in a simple touch, in the truth they could no longer deny. The suns rose slowly over the village. Golden light touched the broken huts and narrow paths. The air was cool, yet heavy with whispers. For the first time in many years, the people had seen something they could not deny. The cursed woman was no longer alone. A human stood beside her, and he had defeated both beast and men. Inside the small hut, the little girl awoke first. She blinked sleepily, then smiled when she saw the human sitting near the fire. Her mother was asleep against his shoulder, her face peaceful at last. The girl whispered softly, "You stayed." The human turned and smiled at her. "I told you I would." She crawled into his lap, hugging him tightly. "Now you are my father," she whispered. Her voice was small but full of joy. The human's arms wrapped around her gently. He did not argue. He did not correct her. He only said, "Then I will be the best father I can." The alien mother stirred and opened her eyes. For a moment, she was confused. She had not slept so calmly in years. Then she saw him still beside her. Her heart skipped. "You didn't leave," she whispered. Her voice cracked with disbelief. "No," he said softly, "and I never will." Later that morning, they walked together into the village, the human, the woman, and the child. The people stopped and stared. Some looked away with shame, others glared with anger, but a few, just a few, watched with curiosity, for even the hardest heart could not deny what their eyes saw. The elder stepped forward, staff in hand, his voice loud but shaken. "You have defied our judgment. You have stood with her despite our warning, so be it. You are bound to her now. Her curse is your curse." The human met his gaze. "I don't see a curse," he replied firmly. "I see a family." The crowd fell silent. His words struck deeper than any blade. Some villagers lowered their heads. For the first time, they questioned their own cruelty. The little girl squeezed his hand tightly, her face glowing with pride. Her mother looked at him with tears in her eyes. She had carried shame for so long. But now, in front of all, she stood tall again, not broken, not abandoned, but with someone beside her who chose her freely. That evening, the three of them sat outside the hut. The stars filled the sky. The girl leaned against her new father. Her mother sat quietly beside them. For once, the silence was not heavy with sorrow. It was warm, safe, full of unspoken peace. The woman turned slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "All these years, I thought I was nothing. I thought I was cursed, but you gave me back my life." The human shook his head. "You always had a life worth living. You just needed someone to remind you." Tears slid down her cheeks, but this time, she did not hide them. She let him see. And when his hand touched hers again, she did not pull away. Instead, she held on. The little girl looked at the two of them, smiling through sleepy eyes. Her heart was finally full. The wish she had carried, the plea she had whispered to a stranger. It had come true. Her mother was happy again. They were no longer alone. The night passed, and dawn came once more. A new day, a new beginning. The human, the alien woman, and the child stepped out together. They were not perfect. They were not free from the world's judgment, but they were together, and for them, that was enough. A new dawn had risen, not just for a mother and her daughter, but for a family reborn from sorrow, a family no one could break again. Days passed slowly after the trial. The human, the alien mother, and the little girl began to live like a family. The hut that once felt broken now echoed with soft laughter. The mother smiled more, though her eyes still carried shadows. The girl played freely, no longer afraid of every whisper outside. Yet the village did not forget. They still watched, still judged. Some muttered insults when the family passed. Others looked away, ashamed of their cruelty. But hatred does not vanish quickly. It waits in corners, sharp as a knife. One evening, as the suns dipped low, the human returned from gathering wood. He found the mother outside, her face turned to the sky. Her eyes glowed faintly in the fading light. She looked calm, but her hands trembled. "What troubles you?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then spoke. "Peace never lasts here. The elders will try again. They cannot accept you chose me, and I fear. They may punish you, or worse, punish our child." The human stepped closer. His hand touched her shoulder, steady and firm. "They can try," he said quietly, "but I have faced worse than their hate, and I will face it again, if it means protecting you both." Her heart throbbed at his words. She lowered her head, tears gathering. "You don't understand. I have lived so long under their cruelty. I cannot believe anyone can stand against it forever." Her voice broke. "But when I see you, when I hear your words, I feel something I thought I lost. I feel hope." The little girl peeked from the doorway. She had been listening. She ran forward, hugging both of them tightly. "Then don't be afraid, Mama," she said softly. "He is here now. We are not alone anymore." The human lifted the child into his arms, her tiny arms wrapped around his neck. Her laughter was soft, but bright. It warmed the mother's heart more than any fire. That night, the family sat together. The girl leaned against her mother's lap, half asleep. The human repaired the roof slowly, patch by patch. The woman watched him quietly. Each strike of his hand reminded her that he was real. Not a dream, not a promise that would fade, but a man who stayed. As the stars filled the sky, the human finally sat beside her. The silence stretched between them. She whispered, "Do you ever regret it? That you stayed with us?" He looked at her, his eyes calm. "No," he answered. "Not for a moment. I have seen many places, many faces. But here, with you and her, for the first time, I feel at home." Her breath caught in her throat. For years, the word home meant only sorrow. But now, hearing it from his lips, she felt something new bloom in her heart. A future she had never dared to imagine. The little girl stirred in her sleep. Her small voice whispered, "Papa, Mama, stay together forever." Her words were innocent, yet powerful. The human and the mother exchanged a look. Neither spoke, but their silence was enough. It was a promise, unspoken, but real. As dawn approached, the village would wake again with its whispers and stares. But inside the small hut, a family was being rebuilt. Not by blood, not by tradition, but by choice. By love that grew in the cracks of sorrow. The human knew more trials would come. The elders, the villagers, perhaps even dangers from beyond. But when he looked at the mother and her child, he felt unshaken, because some battles are worth fighting, and some families are worth everything. A new chapter had begun. The curse was broken, not by strength of sword, but by the strength of hearts that refused to give up.